Hi, we're back with the second lecture in our entomology series. My name is still Paul Guillebeau. My contact information is still the same. We ended up last time talking about exopterygotes and endopterygotes, and we want to talk about them a bit more. Exopterygotes have incomplete metamorphosis, which means their life cycle consists of eggs, several nymphal stages, and the adult. There is no pupal stage. The nymphs, as you can see in this picture from the left of stink bugs, are usually similar to the adults. They often feed on the same food source, which means, for pest species, both the nymphs and the adults are usually a problem. Most of them hatch from eggs. Some give live birth. You can see an aphid down the right-hand corner giving birth to a daughter, and her daughter has another daughter inside of her. It allows them to increase their populations very quickly. There are more than 100,000 species. Most exopterygotes are terrestrial. Some, like the water boatman you can see on the right-hand side, are aquatic. And some, like a dragonfly, they are immatures called naiads, live in the water. And they are very different from the adults, but there still is no pupal stage. Some species have chewing mouthparts. Many have piercing, sucking mouthparts. There are important pests in this group, as well as important beneficials. Endopterygotes, on the other hand, have complete metamorphosis. Their life cycle consists of an egg, several larval stages, a pupa, and an adult, as you can see in this example with flies and with lady beetles. The larvae are very different from the adults. Nearly all hatch from eggs. There are more than 800,000 different species, so many more endopterygotes than there are exopterygotes. Most endopterygotes are terrestrial. There are some aquatic species, and some, like mosquitoes, must live part of their life in water. For most species, the larval stage consumes food for the entire larval development. In some species, the adults do not feed. Commonly, the larvae are the pest, but the larvae and the adults may all be pests. Larvae of various species may be very different. You can see on the top right, those are mosquito larvae. In the middle, there's a caterpillar, a corn earworm. At the bottom, there's a series of beetle larvae. Nearly all have chewing mouthparts, but some, like mosquitoes, have piercing, sucking mouthparts. There are important pests and beneficials. We can also discuss insects and what ecological niche they occupy. Herbivores, of course, eat plants. Insects are the world's largest group of herbivores. As such, they are man's primary competitor for food. About half of all insect species feed on plants, and every plant part is eaten by some kind of an insect, whether it's the root, the stem, the leaves, the fruits, the seeds. They are more likely to attack plants that are weak or under stress, and we'll discuss that more as we talk about controlling pest populations. Some herbivores also scavenge, and herbivores occur over a large number of insect orders. From counterclockwise, we could see a stink bug feeding on a cotton boll. We could see a codling moth, which is a kind of a caterpillar, feeding inside of an apple. We could see caterpillars feeding on a leaf. And finally, we see adult Japanese beetles defoliating a plant. Scavengers eat decomposing organic matter, dead animals, dead plants, animal waste, etc. Some, like roaches, are pests, but many are beneficial because they help dispose of waste materials. They may attack living animals and plants, particularly if the flesh is decomposing. Predators, and they may also scavenge, kill and eat prey, usually things that are smaller than themselves. They are often indiscriminate about prey items if they are the right size. They eat a number of prey items during their life, maybe thousands. Some life stages, like the larvae, may be predaceous, and the other life stages not. For other species, the nymphs or larvae and the adults may all be predaceous. A number of these are important natural controls of insect populations. On the right-hand side, you see a lady beetle consuming aphids. You see a stink bug attacking some kind of a caterpillar. And at the top, you see a praying mantis eating what I think is a grasshopper. The terms parasite and parasitoid are often used interchangeably when we are discussing insects, but they're not the same thing. Parasites feed on the host without killing it. Think about a flea. Unless a flea is carrying a disease, it will not kill your dog, it will not kill you. There are very few insect parasites of other insects, so they're not considered to be important for biological control. Female parasitoids lay their eggs near or enter on a host. The eggs hatch, and the larvae consume the host. There may be one larva, there may be dozens of larvae. The host always dies, but not before the larvae complete development. The larvae typically require just one host to complete development. Adults feed on nectar and pollen, but the females typically oviposit on a number of different hosts. Some parasitoids create a hole or a nest and provision it with paralyzed hosts. Many attack active hosts. Different types of parasitoids attack every stage of insects. At the bottom on the right-hand side, you'll see a caterpillar that has been attacked by a parasitoid wasp. The things you see on the outside are cocoons. The larvae have completed their development and they bored out through the exoskeleton of the caterpillar. The caterpillar is not dead yet. In the middle, you'll see a tiny little parasitoid laying an egg in another egg. And at the top, you'll see a parasitoid attacking an adult cricket. Predators and parasitoids are both important biological control agents. Predators typically kill the host immediately. They are indiscriminate, attacking whatever is small or weak enough. It is non-targeted biological control, and they may attack one another or other beneficials. Typically attack smaller prey items or immobile life stages like an egg, and they occur in many different insect orders. Parasitoids may paralyze the host immediately, but often the host remains active until larval development is complete. Parasitoids typically specialize on a few related species, so the biological control is more targeted because they do not attack outside their limited host range. Often they attack hosts much larger than themselves. Their strategy is stealth rather than overpowering a host. Parasitoids are in the order of wasps and flies. Some parasitoids are also attacked by different parasitoids called hyperparasitoids. On the right-hand side, you'll see a little parasitoid wasp attacking what I think is an aphid. At the top, you'll see a big-eyed bug eating an egg. Predator and parasitoid populations are both to be encouraged. Here's the number one thing. Don't use pesticides unless you have to. Even if an insecticide is classified as organic, it may have broad-spectrum activity, which means it kills a wide variety of insect species. Many beneficials, particularly parasitoids, are very small. Smaller insects are more easily killed by insecticides. If you use a broad-spectrum insecticide, you may eliminate many small beneficials and not even realize it. Keep in mind that if you eliminate both pests and beneficials, the pest population has to increase before the beneficials will return. It is often a good idea to tolerate a small pest population to retain and attract beneficials. If you must use insecticides, limit the use only to the infested area and apply insecticides as late in the day as possible. We'll discuss insecticide choices later in the course. Promote diversity in and around the garden. Other than prey items, beneficials need other foods like nectar and pollen, and they need places to hide. Try to have a variety of flowers available throughout the season. Native plants can be particularly important. Allow natural plants to grow around the periphery of the garden if that's practical. Beneficials need water. When it is droughty, provide a source of water. An overhead sprinkling will suffice. Mulch, along with leaf litter under shrubs, can provide much needed shelter for larvae, and particularly during hot, dry periods.